Burning clothing, a symbol of old, dissolving the chains of fast fashion's hold. Garments once woven in sweatshop despair, now kindle the flames of a world that's aware. Abandoned tents, discarded and scorned, become canvases of hope, reinvented and adorned. Each stitch tells a story, each thread a plea to cherish our earth and set the planet free. Our shift, we declare in bold, vibrant rhyme, is a call to action, a rhythm in time.
Welcome to Green Talks once again, and now we have another amazing episode, hopefully together. Just to again give a small recap, during the previous episode I had Maria from People of 2050 and Manuela from Sustainery. We talked about COP30 and their project Copenhagen, where they organized 2 days of events and workshops where they invited young professionals and students, and also to inform them and get them involved in climate discussions and how they can also understand the power dynamics when it comes to global scale climate discussions. So after that episode, we again switch our focus to design field, and hopefully again we'll have another great episode. I'm super excited. So I have another amazing guest today, Milan from Our Shift, a Copenhagen-based fashion studio, and they work with upcycling, so they collect textile waste and then upcycle them and produce new products for usage. So not to drag it more, I will give the stage to Milan. If you can introduce yourself and Our Shift a little.
I definitely will. Thank you very much for the introduction. Such a pleasure to be here. And as you mentioned, I'm Milan Flíček, and I'm part of a startup called Our Shift. What we do, we taking textile waste and then repurpose it into meaningful garments. Our main focus right now is actually into tents, because there are a lot of tents what people leave behind after the festival, and are either damaged or slightly missing poles or etc. etc. What we do, we go to these festivals, and actually we call it harvesting. We go with our volunteers or volunteers of the also festival, and then took these tents, wash them, and then repurpose them into garments like puffer jackets, vests, trousers, bags, etc. etc. And then actually usually sell them back to the festival as their merchandise, therefore closing the loop. Or we actually have so much of these textile of these tents that we actually make our own fashion brand, where we actually make more, I would say, fashionable, challenging stuff, where we actually sell it to retailers. So we have retail stores around all Europe, Italy, Germany, and then also some in Japan. So where you can go and then physically see them in the stores with a little bit of text saying, I used to be a tent before. Yeah.
I think when you talk about the festivals, the image that appears to my mind is the post-festival, where you see all the waste laying on the floor, tents, banners, everything.
Yeah.
So I also wonder, how did you come up with this idea for your business?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Actually, a few years ago, me and my co-founder Barbara Sura, we actually been invited by Circle Lab, which is like a startup hub for people who have some kind of initiative ideas, and it's part of the Roskilde Festival. And they basically told us that Roskilde have some kind of issue with textile waste, and they introduced us to this issue. And through this circular lab, we have a chance to actually play with it. And we created some samples, and then during one of the festivals, we actually have a platform in this shed in the middle of the camping area where aside a lot of other amazing startups, we could test our idea. So they give us platform, also some kind of great budget to actually test it there, and then people come, see our product, and be like, wow, okay, what is it, how we do it, and things like that. And that told us a lot about customers and things like that. So thanks to actually Circle Up, that there was a pivoting moment when we start working on it. Then we collect the tents and then actually start thinking how we could turn it into the practical things. There was a lot of ups and downs because we, for example, figure out that a lot of them are actually with PFAS. So we have to actually call all the companies, be like, hey, does your tents use PFAS? And they're like, yes. They're like, okay, I crossed the line. So we can't pick those because it's not good for the body. But actually, I would say like only 30% of them doesn't like actually use PFAS. So the 70% of it is okay. And then we also put cotton lining, which we actually take from the Scandi Hotel, the bed sheets, and then turn it into the lining because it have a little minor default or whatever. We are helping them with their issue, because if we will not help them to collect these tents, and aside of many other companies and NGOs, because there are a lot of NGOs who actually comes and then pick up the fully functional tents and then pack them and then send them to either Ukraine or to, that's actually we work with one of the NGOs who does this, or they actually bring it to France and other countries where they actually use the tents. But the amount of the broken tents is just insane. And the festival have to spend so much money in order to clean it. So in this way, I think like we could help each other in this way. I believe it's helpful because it's closing the loop or the circle of life of the tent, basically. So yeah, like so far, like this year was actually quite pivoting because we did 3 quite major collaboration with Glastonbury, Roskilde Festival, and Smugfest, where we actually take their textile waste and then repurpose it in something, and then into products, and then actually sell it back to them, and they sell it with margin. And so, like, they make money out of circular, which was actually quite interesting in a way that sometimes people are very hesitant about circularity because it costs a lot, because the processes are a little bit more tricky. For example, like with us, we have to treat the tents individually. We can't lay 50 tents on top of each other and then just cut the front piece of the anorak, because that's how you usually make anoraks. You just layer fabrics on top of each other, cut 50 front pieces in the same time. With this, we have to treat it individually. But we luckily find a great productions in Bosnia and Herzegovina, in Romania and Poland, where we actually work with them very closely on these products. So that's actually make a big difference both in production wise and also price wise. Yeah.
So as a studio, you are involved in harvesting the textile waste, and also the design are yours.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you are always involved in the production process as well.
Yeah, so I actually used to study fashion design here in Royal Danish Academy. I took my master's there, focusing on fashion, where actually the last collection what I created was about stop fucking burning clothes. I hope I can swear it a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's good. So it was like the acknowledging, and then like during the fashion week, the collection was presented where we showed, where I showed that we should stop burning Latvian textiles. European Union, few years after, actually did that. They banned burning and landfill of textile waste. So companies are now responsible for what they produce. So I think it's also a great time for our studio to actually work with them, because we can be like, hey, you have a problem, we have solution. And I think that's the most interesting thing ever with that. Yeah.
So when we talk about, and also specifically for tents in this case,
Yeah.
but how would you then explain this loop? Can you also make it clear for the audience? So
Yeah.
the tents are used in a festival. So for you, the journey started after this. So how is that journey?
So the journey is simple and complicated in the same time. We have tents where people have been sleeping and living for some period of time, and as I mentioned before, we just take the one word image, and then we go to the festival, have 1 or 2 days, or even more of harvesting, where we actually physically go, put some good gloves, have pocket knives, and then amazing green vests or orange vests, depending on the festival. And then we go, and then actually with a lot of bags, we took the tents apart. And then after harvesting, we send them to the cleaning facilities when they wash them. But we also have to cut the threads and strings out of it, because otherwise it will rub and it wouldn't wash properly. And from this washing facility is going straight to one of our productions, or part of it is going to our studio here in Copenhagen, where we actually analyze these tents and then make a product, which, or like a sample, which then we play ping pong with our productions, figure out what is the best like solution for them to choose with. Then we get a price range, and then from there we either offer it to the festivals, or actually already on this process we co-work with them, because they have their own tents, which we are repurposing solely for them, because they have their own logos, their own sites on the tents. So that's how it goes with the tents actually. Then when you have a final design of the anorak, we just send also some trims and lining into the production, and with the final design, which is actually, as I mentioned again, produce one sample over here, and then we ship it to the productions to decide which one to go with. Yeah. So that's about the tents. But for example, we work also with dead stock. Festivals produce T-shirts. Have COVID happened, boom, no one buy T-shirts. Or hoodies have a wrong color, no one buy them. That's the tricky part, because like you have to have a stock, right, on the festival. You can so you have to pre-order something, and that is a little bit of you can't do like ready to made, ready to order. It's like that's what we are actually doing. We with our own brand, we make only on demand, but we still have to have some samples, right? But it's different if you buy it in the store or actually on our website. But we are trying to have no or very limited stock. And then but with the T-shirts and other things like that, companies send us the samples, and then we analyze it, what we could do with it, and then play with it. So that's actually two sides of the coin, like either tents or the T-shirts and jerseys or like that. But we also don't work only with festivals. We work with other non-fashion on non-related companies, some very practical companies, where they change their logo, and we just help them to consult them on how to actually repurpose their old textiles, because they just have a little logo of the previous company, and they just have to change it. But usually people don't have a knowledge that they can just sew it over it, so they would rather burn it or landfill it or throw it away. So we are like, hey, you don't have to do it. They're perfectly fine T-shirts. We just have to think about how we could do it. But I totally get it. They don't know, or they don't have time to think about it. But luckily now, because of European Union legislations, they can't burn and landfill it. So we are helping them with it. Yeah.
That was actually my next question. So you partially answered that.
Okay.
But I also wonder, so festivals, in my mind, make a great example of how to actually make an impact, I would say, because I cannot imagine the amount of waste they produce. So it just makes perfect sense to actually close the loop and then bring them back the waste products, let's say, to life again. So in that sense, what can be an alternative or an addition to the partners you work with? Okay, you have private companies you work with, but the scale is different, I assume.
Yeah.
So in bigger scales, what would be next or something else that you can work with?
Yeah. I would just maybe like to add that festivals itself, they're really trying to not have textile waste.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of about people's behavior.
Yeah, okay.
It's like festivals themselves, it's not that bad with the textile. It's mostly the people who go there.
Mm-hmm.
Just point it out.
That's also thank you.
At least on our understanding.
Mm-hmm.
A very good point. So we work with Škoda, the car company, with actually transfer them from one logo to another on the consultancy fee, as I mentioned. So that would be one of the things. But there are multiple other companies who you just make a event and then you have a leftover banners. Like there are so many companies who have textile waste. And there are options all the time to actually figure out how to make stuff fully circular. Even like running clubs, you have even a Novo Nordisk, even like Mask. All these companies, they have textiles uniforms. Army have uniforms. All these things. There's so much textile in the world that actually just lay there because someone chose the wrong color or the wrong time of the year or printed the wrong year on it or etc. etc. So I believe there is so much of textile waste which we just have to cover. And then we also work with, for example, Klimakla, which is under the Danish Institute, and they are very formal company. So, but they wanted to have a new suits, but they didn't want to buy new suits because their focus is on circularity. So we actually help them to repurpose the ones what are already here, and then we heat press the logos of their company on it. So that was one of the solutions. There are always I think people are now thinking, okay, we don't need to buy 20 new tailored suits. We could use that ones already here, we just have to brand them. And then that's quite interesting in a way that actually it does exist now. So I would say the possibilities are endless. We are working with also ice hockey team, where we are taking their textile waste from the World Championship or Olympic Games. And yeah, it's a lot. Mostly banners though, on those ones, but yeah. What I also know, but I can't really say about that yet. It's that there are also some airlines, where you have a proper outfit, but then they produce amount of shirts for their pilots, but the shirt was the wrong color. So now they are stuck with these shirts. So they need someone to take care of it and then repurpose it. And it could be just dyeing it, right? Or it could be thinking in a different way about that. So yeah.
Yeah, the options does sound like infinite,
Yeah.
basically. So that's also good, I guess, for you.
I
guess it's also important for different businesses to know that this sort of solutions also exist.
Yeah.
So
I mean, to just elaborate on it, I believe that that's the future, that eventually, because we do these projects, then in the future, when the festivals actually operate, they're okay, let's have a pile of just where people can leave their tents. So they already think about it. Or let's make the option with cotton tents. So they're actually good tents where when they're just gonna happen, the tents will have an end of their life. They just neutral thing. That's just how it's always been. And we could already with that knowledge, we can be already implemented and be like, okay, we can make from the very good cotton tent, we can already know that there will be nice shirt out of it. And then with that mindset, when the new companies will rebrand, they could use the banner because they just want to. And I'm like, maybe you don't have to, but I totally get your point. You want to be branded, whatever. They could already come with the knowledge that these banners can be, for example, just double printed. So after one use, then they can print like once more. So they would actually invest in the longevity. So I think with this project we can actually change the mindset for longer term, and then we can do it also with the fashion brands. One of our main like aspect is actually trying to get other fashion brands to work with their dead stock, and then to figure out, hey, like because there is a lot of unsold dead stock, how we could repurpose it into new garments for the next season. So many different heads and corners and yeah, all these things. Yeah.
And that can also be dynamic and nice for you because it's not just one single thing you work, but again the options are open and they're there. It's just about taking the step and then saying that okay, we have another thing to work with.
Exactly. Yeah.
So while we talked about bigger scale, so I will also now take it a bit down and then maybe talk about small scales, like how can an individual adapt this type of mindset in their own lives, because I also think that would be super nice and useful for people to know how they can repurpose their own, let's say there's a t-shirt with a hole, or I don't know, socks with hole, or like something that they don't wear anymore, but it's basically perfectly fine. So maybe small tips for people who would like to adapt this and then
I would invite them to be part of one of our workshops, upcycling workshops. That will be my main, where we actually teach people how to mend, how to rethink clothes, how to actually upcycle or deconstruct or all other things. So through these workshops, and not just our workshops, there are multiple upcycling workshops all around Copenhagen and I believe all around Europe, where you can just go be part of it and then look at the textile with another eyes, I would say. It's interesting because like generation of our parents, at least my parents, they all knew how to sew. And our generation, some of the people don't know how to re-sew the buttons. And I found it very fascinating, like what changed? You know, what was and that fast fashion changed. Like now, like it's probably cheaper to go and buy new pair of jeans than asking a tailor to re-sew them. And that's a fact. It's like if the zipper breaks in the jeans, the cost of repairing that, it's more expensive than buying new jeans. Yeah, depending on the quality. But that's just how it happens. And that's the tricky part. But I would say that, you know, with slowing down, I think the most important thing is that like we just have to think if what we are buying it's interesting for us, if we want to wear it for a longer time, and then if the garments can last, and if we can repair them, and then repairing it through I would say the workshops are the best, because also for people who, you know, we do it for schools, we do it for universities, we did it for some companies, and also embassies. So the variety of people what we met during these workshops are quite vast, and usually the people who have very, how to say it nicely, like a sitting job behind the desk, you know, they found they just like open different doors. They're like, usually they're like, oh, I feel like I'm a child again, which I'm like, wow, thank you so much for taking my job seriously. but no, I think it's like we wake up their inner child of like, I can be creative with these garments, and that's the beauty of upcycling. And if you have any garments where you have just a hole in the t-shirt, it doesn't mean it's like defect. It's like window of opportunities. You know, it's like you could use whatever thread, whatever colors, whatever heat press, whatever embroidery on top of it. You know, there is just like so many options. But also, if your t-shirt have a hole by itself, you probably shouldn't buy any more of these t-shirts, because that's a bad t-shirt.
Yeah, pro tip.
Just saying. Normal t-shirt shouldn't have a hole after a few use. So yeah.
But I always say that I think today, or in these times, we miss doing things with our hands, like actually touch the material, feel it, and create something.
Yeah.
So I think this is also another great option to test that or work with that.
Exactly, and I mean it's like we did it during the Valentine's Day, and couples bring their two shirts, cut it in the middle, merge them together. A little bit tacky though, but cute. And then it's just like, you know, so it's an activity for what you can do with your love partner, or with your mom and daughter relationship, or whoever, like your family, friends. You could do it like together, because then you actually are creating something together. That's the beauty of it. And then being so hands-on, like it activates a different connection in your brain than, you know, just asking ChatGPT what is your next step. So I think that's what I can see that people really love about these workshops. And then also seeing the little spark in their eyes when they are showing what they produced, that's so valuable. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they also have a personal connection to what they produce at the end.
So yeah.
Although it might break in some parts, I'm sure they will keep wearing it.
Yeah. Or but with the knowledge of what they possess now, they could repair it and forever and ever.
Yeah.
And that's a beauty, you know, that's the beauty of that. What my grandma always says, that she was from the generation when their radio breaks, they first try to fix it before they buy the new one. Also, probably because radio had been bloody expensive that time, but you know, maybe it works for everything else. I don't want to be too philosophical, but you know, in relationships it's the same, right? It's like first to try to fix it and not just buy a new one. But we are so accustomed now to do it. The tricky part is maybe it's cheaper, but yeah. But do we wanna always buy the cheapest thing? That's also, yeah.
I think that's actually a great way to maybe end this episode with this message. First, try to fix it.
Yeah, first try to fix it, exactly.
But now I also heard a little bit more about what you do and how the textile industry, in your case, in a way works. I mean, I'm very much out from that field, but I also got excited also hearing all the opportunities and what you can work with. So it is quite exciting to get to know a little bit about different fields, like in this case, fashion. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for the invitation. It was such a pleasure.
Yeah, it was for me as well, and I hope for our audience as well. But I think it was quite valuable episode. Also, when we talked about little daily things, we can also adapt into our lives. So
it's great.
Overall, perfect talk, I would say. Thank you once again.
Such a pleasure. Pleasure's on my side. And have a good day.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much for watching us again, and see you in the next episode. Cut.
Lovely.